Hey there, my name is Drew Brashler, and I want to help you feel more confident with your production gear no matter where you're starting from. Today, we're going to be talking about the Behringer P16-M, which is the personal monitor mixer that Behringer makes that works with the Behringer X32, the Midas M32, the X-Air series. It works on any of those consoles that have an Ultranet out. It also works with the Behringer Wing, which is brand new. But what this actually allows us to do is send 16 mono channels into this little mixer and have the band mix their own monitors, so their own in-ears. Or you could have this thing connected into a floor wedge if you wanted to give the band that much control over stage volume. But the main purpose of this is going to be for in-ears. So today I'm going to show you actually how to build a monitor mix. So this is going to be a useful video for any of the musicians out there. So let's go ahead and dive in and actually see how to get this thing set up. Now, in an earlier video, I showed you actually how to get the routing set up in our P16 tab. So you can go press routing, tab it over P16, and all of these 16 outputs are what is going to be feeding into the P16 system. Now, if you do have this connected over a stage rack, like an S16 or an S32 or the DL32, you will need to verify that your routing in your AES50 is correct, in that 33 through 48 is coming through P16 1 through 16. As if you don't have this set, none of your Ultranet will pass through to your stage box. So the first thing that I'm going to do is when I come across a P16 is to turn everything down and put everything panning to the center. And so I'm going to do that first. And so all I'm going to do is going to go click through each of these channels and turn the volumes down. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is on every single one of these channels, select them, and then press the center of this pan knob. Now this pan knob will allow us to pan left or right, but when we press the center, it defaults to the middle. The next thing that I'll want to do is go press the mute button, and if anything is red, that means it's muted, so I'm going to want to unmute those. After we've done that, our output, I'm going to want to put to a decent volume. The output is the actual headphone volume output on the back of the P16. This also affects the TRS outputs on the back of the P16, which you could feed into an in-ear monitor system or a floor wedge if you wanted to. But this volume needs to be set at a pretty good volume. I usually have mine set about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. We have our limiter knob right here, and I'm going to explain what this does later, but first thing you'll want to do is actually have this starting out all the way to the right. So now that that's set, let's actually go through and see what we have on the P16 here. So we have drums left and right. That's going to end up being a stereo group. We have bass guitar, acoustic guitar. So 5 through 8 are my flex channels. Now, I call them that. I'm actually going to make a different video specifically about this, but what those are doing is those are taking a stereo set of channels, summing them to one channel, which is mono, and that way I can fit all of my band in these 16 faders. So my 2 electric guitars are actually both stereo. So unfortunately, in their ears, they are going to have to listen to themselves in mono so I can get the whole band on this P16. So we have electric guitar 1, electric guitar 2, keys 1, and then I have this channel called AV Passer, which I'm going to take all of my AV playback, so my video playback, audio playback if I have any of that, and my pastors or host mics, and I'm going to put those down one group of channels, so one mono send. And then the band is going to be able to hear that when they're up on stage. Moving on, I have my tracks left and right, so that is going to be another thing that we need to link. We have click cue, MD talkback, and my vocals 1 through 4. So like I was saying, I have 2 things on my P16, my drums and my tracks. Both of those are stereo. So what I'm going to do is link those together. To do that, I'm going to press link, and then I'm going to press the odd number, and that's going to link that with the even number. So I can link 1 and 2, but I can't link 2 and 3. I can only link an odd to an even number. So we are going to link drums and then tracks, 9 and 10. Once I have that done, I'm going to just press link again. So I'm going to go ahead and start building a mix here. So I'm going to start with my click. Let's go ahead and add in some drums. and some bass guitar, electrics, which aren't playing yet. So something that I can do with this mixer is actually start panning some instruments. For instance, my electric 1 is on my left side, so I'm going to go ahead and pan that to the left. Additionally, my electric guitar 2 is on the right side of the stage. My keys is all the way far left on stage. And so next I'm going to actually pan some of my tracks to balance out my mix here. Now, a couple features on the P16 is I can actually mute channels by just pressing this volume knob. So I can go to the vocals and I can actually mute them by pressing that. Additionally, I can press mute and I can go and mute the channels that I want to in here. Additionally, I can solo things by pressing solo, and then I can go and solo the individual channels that I want. So I was mentioning earlier about the limiter knob. If we have our limiter knob and it is lighting up at all, then that means that it is limiting your mix or compressing or reducing the volume of your mix. So I can actually turn this all the way to the left and I can turn up my mix all the way and it actually doesn't change the volume at all, which is why I was mentioning that you should start with this thing all the way over to the right. So once we actually have it there, we can use it for our benefit by reducing some of the peaks. So what this is going to do is it's just going to take those peaks and just turn them down slightly. So I'm going to adjust this into where the light is barely hitting every now and then. So that's how we would set our limiter. Now, another thing that we have on the Behringer P16 is this main. So the main allows us to turn up or down our overall mix, but that's different than our headphone volume, which is the output level on the top right knob. So the next section that I want to talk about is the equalizer section. So what's cool about this is on every single channel, we have a 3-band EQ. So we have a bass, a treble, and then a sweepable mid. So that means that I can go solo up the drums, and I can adjust the EQ section of just the drums here. So I'm going to add some bass, or take away bass. Additionally, we have this mid. So the mid allows us to turn it up or down, and then the frequency allows us to sweep that higher in frequency or lower in frequency. We also have our treble knob. And this is on every single channel. So I can go to my bass and turn up the bass, or go to my drums and turn down the bass. Now, when I select between these two, we'll notice that this knob goes from bright red to not bright red. And so I know that I have taken my EQ on my bass and turned it all the way up. So when this is not lit, it's showing you that if you start making an adjustment, it's not going to change anything. So what you have to do is you have to take this knob until it goes bright red. There it is, and now it's adjusting the overall EQ of this. So same thing with the drums. I know that my drums have no bass, so I'm going to reduce this until it brightens up, and now I can actually adjust it. So a quick thing if you need to adjust the EQ is just click on it, something, do a sweep right to the left, and then you can adjust it up or down. Now, one really cool thing about the main section is we have the EQ that can be applied to the overall mix. So say you have to change your in-ears real quick during the show, you can actually go and change the EQ of your mix to match what your mix used to sound like. Or say you are in a different song and all of a sudden everything's super bassy, you can go and dial everything down by pressing main and adjusting EQ up or down. Now, the next cool function of the Behringer P16 is the ability to save. So I have all 16 buttons that I can save to. So once I have my mix set, I can go and record this into a slot here. So it gives me 16 slots. So to save this mix, I press and hold store, and then I can select any of these buttons. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this on 5. And so I'm gonna press it once, and then it's gonna flash, and I'm gonna press it one more time to confirm. Now I know that I have saved a flat mix in 16, so I'm gonna go press recall and hit 16. So now that we've stored our settings, let's recall them. So all we have to do to recall is press and hold recall, and we can press 5, which is where we just saved our mix to. Now say we have a song that needs more vocals or less vocals or more drums and less bass. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna turn up the drums and down the bass, and I'm gonna store this. So I'm gonna press store, and I'm gonna save this into 6. And then I'm gonna recall my 5 or my 6. So that concludes this video on the P16 of how to get a monitor mix going. Now, if you do have any other questions, feel free to post them below because I'm always looking for other ideas to make these videos on for this channel. So thank you so much for watching.